I know.
I'm
You're
Roy.
Zac. Yep. Ready.
Shall we talk?
Yeah.
Bienvenidos a México.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gran sorpresa, la primera película de Disney Animation que habla sobre héroes.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think there's always heroes in our films in a certain sense, but this really talks about what heroism is. And it's, you know, I think we come up with the idea that a true hero is selfless.
And I think it's cool to say that the heroes can come from anywhere in this film as well, right?
Yeah.
Six unassuming people who become superheroes. And that's pretty cool.
Why is not Fransokyo and no Mexiokyo?
Well, you know, that comes from the original comic book.
Okay.
The original comic book takes place in Japan, in Tokyo. And when we decided to take it out of the Marvel universe to become a Disney animated film, we wanted to just open the world, but we still wanted to have that root in Japan. Because the guys love everything in terms of Japanese pop culture, and they wanted to see what they could do. So next time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Promise?
next time,
Okay.
next time.
¿Qué tan difícil fue adaptar el cómic a una serie, a una película?
Was it difficult to adapt the comic to a movie?
Not really. I mean, what was cool about this film was that Marvel gave us the license to create our own universe and to create our own characters and to tell the story that we wanted to tell. I got mark all over myself. To tell our own version of our story, and that gave us a lot of creative license. And so we wanted to honor the comic book, but we didn't feel strangled by it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would second that.
Sí, yo segundo.
Okay. ¿Por qué eligieron un equipo como Big Hero 6 por encima de otros personajes de Marvel que ahora pertenecen a Disney?
Why did you choose a team like Big Hero 6, but also the characters of Marvel that now they belong to Disney?
Well, you know, it's when Don Hall, who had the original inspiration for this project, went to Marvel and talked about doing something, Marvel opened the doors to their archives. And so he went through every Marvel property over a matter of months and found this, and it really touched him. And he thought that he loved the title, and he loved the spirit. And that's how we chose this piece. And I think it was wise.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the thing that hooked me when Don pitched it at the studio, after he had chosen Big Hero 6 as the title that he was going to go with, and he said, it's about a boy who loses his brother and adopts a robot as a surrogate brother. Everyone was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in, because it was just the heart of the story was there from the very beginning, and the rest was built around it.
Y muchas veces sabemos la historia de los animadores y el equipo que se hace para producir una película, pero ¿cómo es el proceso de selección de un productor para ser productor de este filme? ¿Lo selecciona Disney y ustedes seleccionan el proyecto? ¿Cómo fue esta aventura? Y como animador, ¿participaste en las producciones previas como Frozen o Ralph el Demoledor?
So he's asking how does a producer get selected?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the story is always driven by the director. It's really important, and particularly ever since John Lasseter has been at the studio, the director must be the head of story, essentially. And so the directors actually develop the work before they put a producer on, and then it becomes a question of will my style match with the director's style? And if it works, I do it, and if it doesn't work, I go do someone else.
And it worked out very well on this
one.
On this film. Roy was a fantastic pick. He was a great leader for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
¿Qué lugares visitaron en esta ocasión para poder inspirarse
What places did you visit this time in order to be able to
Research.
inspire?
en cuestión de animación?
With respect to animation, what places did you visit?
For animation, we went to San Francisco. Me and the supervisors, we went to San Francisco, just to feel the city. But that was about it, really. I mean, we took a lot of reference from the directors when they went to Tokyo, and they went all over Japan.
Yeah,
really.
well, the focus of the research was really for the visual crew. So our production designer, our art director, our head of story and also the directors went to Tokyo and spent about, there was one trip of 14 days and another trip of about 10. And then they spent a fair amount of time in San Francisco. Those who know San Francisco, there's a really specific light that city gets because it's wedged between two bodies of water. And that was really important to capture in this. And so the cool thing is the technology we used to light the film, you really get a sense of San Francisco. And then from a design standpoint, you get that Tokyo design that's so beautiful.
I want to know about the system Denizen.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Hyperion.
What are you talking about Denizen?
I'll take Denizen. Denizen was something we created out of necessity for the richness and fullness of the world. We knew that we're making a combination of San Francisco and Tokyo, both of which are super packed and dense full of people, and so we needed more characters than we were ever going to have in previous films.
How many?
We eventually created over 700 unique characters. And then we created a system of animation retargeting, which allowed us to put any animation we did on any character. We did over 1,000 animation cycles, and so if you multiply that by the number of characters, there's hundreds of thousands of unique animations in this film, which allows them to walk around. Denizen is basically it's a program that allows you to blend between body types, facial types, skin tones, hair colors, and you can get any variation in between the two, which allows you to have seemingly infinite numbers of background characters.
Which is really important in this world because, if you want a place that feels populated, you don't want to do what's generally happened in all animation up to this point. They have 8 different characters that are male, 8 different characters that are female. You dress them differently, and so all of a sudden
Start seeing the same guy.
You're seeing the same guys everywhere. In this, you see different crowds every scene. It's really kind of phenomenal. And it's so easy to use, we actually invited our crew to model themselves.
Roy's in the movie. Roy makes a cameo.
Yeah.
I make a couple cameos.
You make a
actually.
couple of cameos.
I've been there a
In
bunch
what
of times.
parts to see later? In what part do you appear in?
Do you remember?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Roy's in the back of a cabbie. He's being bicycled around by me, actually. I'm the guy pedaling the bike, and Roy's just chilling in the back.
Yeah, which is how it should be. And then Hyperion is kind of interesting in the sense that Hyperion is a rendering system. And up to this point, our rendering system always used essentially a one bounce light system, which means that you have the camera, a light source, the light bounces and hits the camera. But that works well, but you actually want to treat light naturally, and so light actually bounces multiple times. In fact, it bounces hundreds of times. So we developed a system where you could actually regulate the amount of bounced light within a scene, which worked really well for us for outdoor scenes are spectacular. When you see the sunsets in San Fransokyo, they're phenomenal. But then also Baymax, and in his vinyl being, there's light bouncing around in Baymax, so you get that translucency that is just so spectacular. So it was a huge asset to making this world come alive. It doesn't simplify issues. You're still having to kind of articulate and block and make sure you shape a scene much like you would do in a live action film. But it's less like doing stage lighting and more like doing live action lighting.
Okay. Wow, awesome. Congratulations.
Esta pregunta es para los dos. ¿Cuál fue su máximo reto en este proyecto?
This is a question from two of you. Which was your maximum challenge in this project?
I think our answers will be slightly different.
Yeah, my answer, it's always story. The story is always the issue that will, I feel sometimes like I'm holding a team of horses back because I need to get the story right before I let these guys go. There's nothing more debilitating to a crew to have to pull back something that you've approved. So that's important, get the story right. We were very lucky because we handed Zac and the team a lot of what we call toolkits to play with and start working, and we did a lot of experimentation. But then once we got the story and we handed it over to Zac, then we get to talk about his project.
It was full force ahead. The challenges on the animation side were kind of diverse. I think the biggest one was the number of characters in the film. We have more main characters than we've ever had before, which created a challenge both artistically and technically, because keeping them individual, keeping them different from one another the whole time, and tracking their progress across the entire film is a challenge. But we also had the widest spectrum of animation we've ever had with our giant action sequences that required coordination between multiple departments, as well as subtle animation, which both are equally challenging and require a very specific skill set within the animation department. So that created just a whole number of challenges.
This is an interesting statistic, that when you figure in the world of San Fransokyo, when you figure in the amount of characters and Denizen and all that, you can take the world of Tangled, you can take the world of Wreck-It Ralph, and you can take the world of Frozen, and you can fit them into San Fransokyo, and you still have room left over.
Wow.
It's big.
It's a big show. Our appetites are getting bigger.
Ok, esta es una pregunta de fanboy. Stanley,
Ah,
¿cómo tuvieron la idea de meter a un cameo de Stanley animado? ¿Y cuál fue la reacción de esta leyenda cuando hicieron la invitación?
What was the reaction of this legend of the Stanley that you put in the movie, and what was the reaction of the author?
okay, I'm going to ask you one thing. When you write, don't write about this. Because we
Okay.
really
Surprise.
want the audience to discover this and feel the joy. Certainly talk to them about staying through the film and watching the very end, but don't let them know, because we actually were very careful, and there was only about 30 people in the studio who knew we were doing this. It was a little gift to the crew. He did most of the animation on it.
I tried to do all of it myself, but I couldn't get it all done. It was too long.
And I think for me and for the directors, we recorded him one afternoon, and to have Stanley walk into the room, and he's such an elegant and gentle man. It was, and we were like a flutter.
And I got to animate the shots of the CG Stan, which is something that I never thought I would ever do in my entire life. And I don't know how many people will have an opportunity to do that. And so it was huge for me, and I got to sit down, because it was private. I was the only one working on it, so Chris would come to my office late at night, and we'd huddle in my office, and he'd give me notes, okay, and then he'd leave and close the door, and we'd have to hide it from the crew. But it was really cool seeing the crew's reaction to it as well.
And you can write about it 3 weeks after it opens.
But no sooner.
Yeah.
I want on the underwear. Oh.
Bueno, para el productor vemos muchos guiños al personaje de Stitch, entonces me gustaría saber a qué se refiere. Y en el caso del animador, Disney siempre tiene un estilo, imprime magia a sus personajes, pero tiene un estilo. Aquí vemos que se mezcla y se fusiona el arte japonés, el anime, el manga, para el diseño de estos personajes. ¿Qué tan cómodo fue para ti el poder trabajar como animador fusionando estos estilos?
Go ahead. Sorry.
On the animation side, it was comfortable because we all, as animators, we're all geeks. We all watch all that stuff. We watch all the manga. We read all the manga. We watch all the anime, and so we even had an email thread of just send out your inspiration. Just send out YouTube clips and get everyone familiar. So it wasn't a huge hit. We wanted to make sure that it still felt like a Disney film, though, and we really tried to track from the beginning of the film to the end of the film, kind of a progression of the dynamics of the animation, so that you see that these people are not made as superheroes from the beginning, but they become superheroes by the situation they're put in, and that was a big challenge for us to track. But it was uncomfortable for some people because it was more action than we've ever done, and so some people had to push themselves. But it's all animation, and they're the most talented artists in the world, and so I think they did a really good job.
And from the director's point of view, we're all exceptionally impressed with Miyazaki. We're all exceptionally impressed with one of my favorite films is probably Spirited Away. But I think what was really wonderful about it is, as they were working on the story, there was an homage but we knew that it couldn't be literal. It just couldn't be literal because we were still making a Disney animated film. And you know, some people, and I think correctly so, have paralleled Baymax to Totoro, which I think is it's an interesting comparison, and I think there's a spirit there that's the same. So really, it was about capturing the spirit.
And about Stitch?
And about what?
Stitch?
Stitch? In terms of
Also in the little cat.
Oh!
That was
Mochi! Mochi the cat.
Mochi
You know,
in the Stitch costume.
I
didn't think anyone would catch that.
I had never thought of that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to look at him again.
I know it's up on the stairwell inside the house. Yeah.
No, I thought he reminded people of me, particularly Harry Baby.
So nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for talking with us. Very exciting.
Oh yeah, sure. Where do you want me to